We will be starting shortly.
I hope so.
Yeah. Hi, Eileen.
Burger. Well, actually, she's eating the Sheila's out here.
You look familiar. I'm certain run into each other. Yeah, maybe the Eagles nest. Yeah.
What drama's going on? What drama's going on?
I guess.
Is Stacy coming?
She's here. Right there. Yeah.
Is Frank going to play in the very beginning so he needs lights? Or when is he?
He's just going to, throughout the thing, just play from time to time. He needs lights.
I would think so. Yeah.
He'll be all right. What's going on, Abby? How are you? Great. You know, Caroline's here. Yeah, go grab a seat by her. Hey, Joan.
Yeah, we're gonna
Awesome.
we're gonna have to sneak right out to go into dinner. So
Sit in the back. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Yeah. So, can everybody hear me? Can the folks in the back of the room hear me? Awesome. Judge Sorigliano, can you hear me?
what?
He's 100 years old, by the way. Yeah. So, my name is Ron Yance, and first of all, I'm overwhelmed by the response here tonight. It's really nice to have you all come out and not only support the youth of our church with their Appalachian Service Project, where they go into Appalachia every year and you know, serve families and homes that are in desperate need, but to come here tonight and to see what, you know, I've got in store for you, picture-wise and story-wise. It's very humbling to have you all here tonight. This is Pastor Shelley, who's our pastor here at the church.
Hello, good evening.
And she would like to give a welcome. So
Yeah, we just,
Shelley.
on behalf of Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church and staff and our church council, we're so grateful to have you all here. If you're a member of this church, you know everywhere to go, so please be an ambassador and share with people if they're at the intermission, if they need to find the restrooms or want to hang up their coat or find their coat after. And then everyone here that's wearing a blue shirt or bright green that says ASP is coming on the trip. It's not everyone, but I just wanted to invite them to stand up and wave and express our thanks to you all for being here tonight. Again, thanks so much for joining us.
So a couple of items to note. If you were so inclined to give a free will, an in-kind donation tonight, there are baskets. There are 2 baskets in the lobby that have little signs on them that say that. And so my presentation will be an hour. And in respect to all of you, if you have to use the restroom or if you want to go out and look at our silent auction items, after 30 minutes, I'll take a break. We'll take like a 5-minute break, and you guys can do that, and then we'll come back in for the second half hour. I'd like to introduce Eric and Frank. You guys want to stand up? The guys with the guitars. So, you know, I've seen different people do presentations on like Broadway, you know, the big time, and they always have some type of music along with their presentation. So these are 2 church members, 2 longtime great humans, very involved in the ASP project over the years, and they're just going to kind of play, you know, some string music while I talk. And they promise, you know, not to take center stage, but you know, they're going to be along for the ride, you know, to have a creative night for all of us. So my program's called Eyes Wide Open. I tell my children all the time, I want you to walk through life with your head up and your eyes wide open. And because if we all look at our own lives, I think we all kind of many times rush through it, right? Especially when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and you're really in the throes of life with starting your career and your family. You just kind of tunnel vision and you move through life. And I've learned over the years, I'll be 60 in March, and I've certainly learned over the years that that's really not the way to do things, that you need to step back and see things and recognize things and see the simple in life and be grateful for it. And so that's what I've tried to do through my photography. And so that's what tonight's about, walking through life with your head up and your eyes wide open. And if you learn anything from me tonight or take anything from tonight, I hope that's it, that you start noticing small things in life that maybe you didn't before. It's appropriate that I use the word Genesis since we're in the church tonight. And the reason and if you guys have questions as we go along, just raise your hand and we can talk. I want it to be a conversation. But Genesis is the start. So this is the start of my photography. I've been taking pictures since the summer of 2014. And so that's not very long. That's, 11 years ago. And the reason I started taking pictures was because of this guy right here. This is my dad. And this was in September of the year 2014. My dad would die in November, 2 months later. And we knew that summer of 2014 that he was dying. He had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's that led to dementia. And, he was on the backside of his life. And he was starting to lose his memory. So I would take my dad on road trips. I'm named Ron after my dad, Ron. And we called him Ron and Ron on the road. And I would take him to places in his life that were part of his life to help him remember. And I'd take pictures of him, and then we'd go back home and take a look at the pictures. And this is my dad. He's in flannel pajamas because he didn't have the strength to, pull his own pants up anymore. And I put him on a garbage can so he could rest. We went to the ball field where he used to coach, and he coached kids in Grafton for a very long time. And I pitched batting practice to him that day. And he missed the first pitch, and then he hit 26 in a row. He's a competitive guy. And a former Marine, Semper Fi. And my dad is the reason I got into photography. And then after he passed, it became therapy for me. The second reason that I got into photography is my mom. So when my dad passed in November of 2014, my mom, after 56 years of marriage, was suddenly by herself. And every Sunday, I would go to Mom's house, Mom and Dad's in Grafton, and I'd pick her up, and she'd sit in the front seat of the car with me, and she'd go, "Where are we going today, Ronnie?" And I'd say, "I don't know, Mom, wherever the wind takes us." And what we would do is we would go to special places in the county, wherever the wind would take us. We'd find beauty, we'd find nature, we'd find simple that was spectacular, and we shared time together. And we'd go to downtown Cleveland, or this is Edgewater Beach, and take a picture. And I would take pictures of my mom. And this is at the Rose Garden in Lorraine by Lakeview Beach. And that was her mother's favorite color. So the genesis for me was my mom and dad. And photography for me, after my dad's passing and then spending the next 8 years with my mom passed away 2 Novembers ago. They died on November 19th and November 20th, years apart, but almost the same day. So that's the reason I got into it. Moments. I like to say you can't predict when a moment's going to happen. Hi, Heidi. You can't predict when a moment's going to happen, right? Mark Mueller back there, a great creative artist, he knows that. It just happens. And either you're there for it or you're not. And the reason I say walk through life with eyes wide open is sometimes we don't see the moments and they happen in front of us. Now, we're the day after what? Valentine's Day, right? So 2 swans with their newborn family around them. And this is a moment. How long do you think that moment lasted? Seconds, right? Seconds. And I was lucky enough and grateful enough to be there to see this moment. This is Crook Street in Grafton, Black River. I grew up on Crook Street in Grafton, the other side of the street, other side of Crook Street. But this is a river that I used to spend a lot of time in as a kid. And I'm driving down it one day because I would go home often. And it's late in the afternoon and it's fall and the sun is coming through the trees and landing on the river in a way that just blows my mind. That's a moment. I have my camera in my car with me all the time. Anybody know what this hill is? Daffodil Hill. At what cemetery? Lakeview in Cleveland, Far East Side. Now, I go out there specifically in the early morning to try to capture this moment. The sun rises at this time of the year on the top of this hill and it comes up, and I wait for it to come through and light up those daffodils. Now, the thing about moments is I could go there 10 straight days in a row, and maybe the sun doesn't rise 10 straight days in a row, or it rises, but it's hidden by clouds, and you don't have that moment. So, again, you can't predict the moment. You just have to be there when it happens. The Guardians, early morning. This is facing the west, so the sun's rising in the east over by the steel plant in downtown Cleveland, and it hits the stone of the Guardian with the clouds. There are a lot of photographers in the room tonight. You can't predict when the clouds are going to be out, right? But boy, do they add to the picture, right? A beautiful moment of peace and tranquility. And I like being out early in the morning because nobody else is out. And I just like to, I guess I'm selfish in a way. My wife calls me a snob. I like to share the moments by myself. Plus, she doesn't want to get up that early. This is a willow tree at Edgewater Beach in Cleveland. And the weeping willow is maybe the most photographed tree in the history of Cleveland because everybody loves this tree. People get married under it. People get engaged under it. People have picnics under it. People share special times. Sun setting in the west, that's Lakewood off in the distance, the Gold Coast, on a summer day. Now here's a real example of eyes wide open. I didn't have my head up to notice this shot, but I had my eyes wide open. I'm walking along the beach. It's a cold winter day. You can see where the sun's setting in the west. It still hasn't moved out over the lake yet. And I noticed those feathers from the Canadian geese or the gulls or whatever. And I thought, if I drop down and lay on my belly on the sand, I can get the sunlight coming through that feather. It's a simple shot, but I think sometimes simple is most spectacular. Just a fence, right? Snow fence. Here's a different look at life. Again, the setting sun behind it, and just the silhouette of the broken wooden sticks, to me, is beautiful. This is in Avon Lake right across the street. July storm. We are so blessed in northeastern Ohio to live very close. I'm from Grafton. My friend Heidi is in the second row here. We went to high school together. 30 minutes from Grafton to Avon Lake. I live in Avon Lake now. It's a half mile to the, and the Great Lake is here every day and every morning and every night for us. So that's a crescent moon over the lighthouse. And I credit my wife for this photo. She didn't take it. She wouldn't go out with me late at night at the marina in Lorraine. But I did, and she tells me where, there's another woman in here too, Adele Flynn, who also has those things that you can see where the moon's going to set and the moon's going to rise. She told me when this was going to happen, and I went out and you waited for it. But again, that moment might not happen. It could have been cloudy that night, but it wasn't, and you have that beautiful picture. So I want everybody to close your eyes for a second, and then we'll open them in a second. I want you to think of something in your childhood that is a memory, a place that you used to go when you were a little kid. And just, think of that. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to think of that. Find that place in your head when you were a little kid that you used to go to. And, it's a magical place. All right, now open your eyes again. This is in Grafton where I grew up. And this is a little path that leads back to a reservoir across from a quarry hole by Willow Park in Grafton. And when I was a kid, I'd go back to that reservoir and I would fish with a bamboo pole and a line, and my brother and I would catch bluegill, just sticking the pole into the water and pulling bluegill out. And we would sled off the hills in the wintertime. And one very dangerous day, me and a friend, his name was Gibby Corca, decided to walk across the frozen reservoir to the other side. And I'm glad that I'm still living today to tell you that I did that. But this is a magical place for me. And the morning that I was in Grafton, the fog was setting and the sun was shining and rising in the east, and it was just blowing through the trees on the little path that I would walk to the reservoir, and it spoke to me. It was a magical, mystical place for me as a kid. And then just, not too long ago, spoke to me again. I love seagulls. You got to have the right angle. You got to know where to go, where they're going to gather. And then you got to hope something spooks them, like an eagle or another fish, and they all just kind of jump up, and they create that look in front of the lighthouse in Lorraine. And this is the last picture in the moments. Does anybody know where this is? Cough Reservation in Avon Lake. What's the moment here that doesn't happen all the time? A wet snow clinging to the trees. It's Narnia in Avon Lake. And I got up early. They had anticipated a wet snow overnight, and I went specifically looking for this photo. Oh, this is the last one. So I broke the rules and the law here. Any police officers in the room? Rob Oles, are you in here? This is an eagle at Redwood Elementary School. So a couple of years ago, my son's a freshman in college. He's in the Ohio State Men's Glee Club. It's like a Tuesday night. They got a concert in Columbus. My wife can't go, so I go down by myself. Concert gets over about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It's about midnight by the time I leave Columbus. I'm like 52 years old. I have never had coffee in my life. I have never had coffee in my life, and I'm 52. And I had to drive home that night because I had to be at work the next morning. So I went to a coffee shop. I like it straight and black. I said I want it straight and black because I want it going all in my veins. And I said, give me two shots of, what's that stuff called? Espresso or something like that. 2 shots of that plus black, straight black. I was wired. It went straight to my brain, my heart. I was wired. I made it home. I could not sleep. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. It was a winter night, no branches or no leaves on the branches of the trees. There was a full moon out, and I'm an eagle stalker. I said, there's an opportunity here. I said, I'm going to go down to the school, see if I can see where the eagle's at, see if I can line it up so the moon's behind it. Because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What else are you going to do? And I can't sleep. So at Redwood, they have specific rules. And Mike May, the principal at Avon Lake High School, is here tonight. So Mike, you cannot tell anybody that I did this. Because when I did this, I was on the Board of Education in Avon Lake. And I'm high as a kite on coffee and espresso, and I'm jumping the fence at Redwood Elementary with signs that say, do not go behind this fence. So I'm breaking all sorts of rules because I needed to get the angle of this eagle with the moon behind it. And its mouth is open because it is talking to an owl in the woods that it does not like. And the owl doesn't like the eagle, and the eagle doesn't like the owl. And I was there for it at 3 o'clock in the morning. So jacked up on coffee that I don't think I ever went to sleep that night. But I got the shot that I wanted. And the moment was there. Perspective. As we walk through life, everything's about perspective. What angle you look at things through, the lens that you look at life through. Change your perspective. Consider somebody else's perspective. Jim Moraldi and I may not agree on something, but if I can consider what he is saying and doing it in a reasonable way, we can come to an agreement. It's about perspective. Change your perspective, right? Consider somebody else's perspective. So as a photographer, this is a what? Queen Anne's lace, yep. And how tall are Queen Anne's laces? Really, I mean, if you're, Catherine, a foot, they're little, right? So to get that shot with the setting sun, what did I have to do? I had to lay on the ground, I had to change my perspective. Now anybody could go out and shoot a picture of a Queen Anne's lace, but get down on your belly and get the sun, dropping into it. Perspective. This is a Japanese maple tree. The red part of it. The red and the orange, the yellow obviously not. But to get that shot with the blue sky behind it, I laid on the ground, flat on my back, looking up at it, with the sun shining through it. This is out in Amish country in Sullivan near Black River High School. I spend a lot of time in Amish country. I have threatened my wife that we're going to turn Amish, and she said she'll leave me. She won't divorce me, but she's not coming with me to live without heat and electricity and refrigeration. But I was going down the road, and I turn around a lot. I go by something, and then I turn around and I come back. And I got down low in a ditch off the side of the road to get the perspective of this lonely horse under a sad tree. It spoke to me, and I had to go back and take that picture. Who's the woman in the background? Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe. You can't take a bad picture of Marilyn Monroe, can you? And the perspective that I had here at the Art Museum in downtown Cleveland at Wade Oval is through the spring blossoms, the pink on the tree, and through the empty branches. And then there she is, that mystery of Marilyn Monroe, right? And that picture to me speaks, I think, perspective-wise, to the mystery. You can see her just enough, but not really ever know her. Now I'm going to go deep on this perspective. This is in Grafton, not far from where I grew up. It's April. We had one of those rare April snowstorms where you get a lot of snow, it's wet and it's heavy. Near where Jimmy Piger grew up, my friend who's sitting right there. So here's my perspective of this picture. Two people, animals, two functional things, different colors. Above them is a bent branch with the heavy wet snow on it, ready to break. My perspective of this picture is if these two can't figure out how to get along, the weight of the world that hangs above them is going to fall upon them. Now that's my perspective. The beauty of art, I think, or photography, is you can look at that picture and go, around, those are two cows. Or Del Flynn, are those cows? What are they officially called?
Steer.
Steer? No, I don't see that, Ron. But that's what I see. And that's the beauty, I think, of pictures and lyrics and stuff like that. It means one thing to me, it means something completely else to Joe, something completely different to Alex. That's my perspective on that picture. So Heidi and I, who I've mentioned a couple of times, graduated from high school. This is one of our fellow graduates. Dave Rankin is his name. Dave and I were boyhood friends on Crook Street in Grafton. We did everything together. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to take a catfish off a line. This is 6-7 years ago. Dave and I hadn't seen each other since high school. We kept in touch through Facebook, but really hadn't seen each other since high school. I knew he was a fisherman, and he knew I like to take pictures. Dave is 6'8". He was always tall. And one day, in Avon Lake, by the power plant, where the water stays warm, because when the power plant was going, there was that warm water discharge, there was always fish, ducks, birds, and fishermen. And I go one night to take that sunset picture, and I said, there's a dude out there fishing. If I can walk all the way down by the power plant on the beach, again, hopping a fence, being somewhere where you're not supposed to be, I can get the right angle, because it's all about the angle. I'll break any law to get the right angle. Because it's always good to say, oh, I didn't see the sign, I'm sorry. I won't let that happen again. I got a judge sitting right here. I'm admitting all my guilt in front of Judge Moraldi, so I hope I don't end up in his court one day. So I get down, I get this angle, I'm taking this picture. It's a 6'8" dude, and he's fishing, and it's freezing cold. He's obviously committed, and I go, is that Dave Rankin? And I shout out, I go, Dave Rankin. And he turns and he looks at me and he sees the camera and my size and he goes, Ronnie Jans? True story. We hadn't seen each other in over a decade. Now, that picture has meant more to me over the years and Dave's family, because Dave passed away not long ago, a couple years back, and I know that his family and I cherish that moment in that photo. Perspective, Henderson Bridge in Lorraine, trying to get sunrise with the steel mills in the background. Now, if you've ever been to Henderson Bridge, it's not like you could just drive up to it and park and jump off and take that picture. You've got to walk almost a half a mile. You've got to park away and walk almost a half a mile to get to this spot on Henderson Bridge. But I wanted that angle, I wanted this moment in the morning, and I needed to change my perspective to get it. And then this is the last one in perspective, the old water pump. This isn't far from where the Flynns live in Penfield Township. And it's no longer there. That pump has been cut off at its base and it's no longer there. But the perspective of that pump on that particular morning, the sun again is rising over here, blowing out the cobwebs, the spider webs on the pump. And again, I laid down in the street to take that picture. It's a farm street, farm road, country road, gravel. So the only thing I was worried about was a tractor running over me, and it didn't. Hello. How many of you go through life and say hello to random strangers? How many? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you would never do that? See, you're too shy to even raise your hand right now to answer that question. I think at my root, I'm a shy person. I'd like to just kind of hang out and be myself, but somewhere over time, my careers have kind of changed that. I will say hello to anybody. I will strike up a conversation with anybody. So that's what this segment's about. This is Joe. Anybody having a guess on what Joe's career is? He's what? Dairy farmer. Close. He lost his fingers. Yeah. What? He clips cows' nails. Ding, ding, ding. How many of you gotten a manicure in the room? Come on, some of you guys, you can raise your hand. You've gotten a manicure. It's okay. He puts cows in this contraption. See the cow? Does it look comfortable? Spins them over, puts them on their side, and trims the hoofs. He gives cows manicures. He's got a carbine blade, and he's got like a 24 grit sand disc, and he trims the hoofs on cows. He gives them literally manicures. Why does he do it? To keep them healthy. So, typically they're walking around in soft places and they don't wear their feet out. They don't wear the hoofs of their feet out. So they then they get rocks in them. They grow too long, the toenails, things like that, and they become sedentary and they lay down and they just lounge all day and they become unhealthy. And if you're in the business of raising beef cattle, you need healthy beef cattle. So this guy comes out and he trims the hoofs. I said hello to him one day, and my friends called me out to meet him. This guy, I'm driving down Detroit Road in Cleveland, and I see a building, and I see a graffiti artist on a ladder on the building. And I get about 100 feet past it. I go, I'm going to turn around and go back and see what's going on. I don't know him at all. And I park my car, and I walk up to him, and I go, hey, man, what are you doing? He goes, I'm doing some graffiti art. This is my buddy's business. It's his building. It's, depleted. We want to make it look a little bit better. He goes by Abstract Descent, is his artistic name. And I said, what are you painting? He goes, a hot Indian chick, was his answer. What are you painting? I'm painting a hot Indian chick. So there's the beginning, and then there's the finished product. And she is beautiful. But again, hello. Edgewater Beach. Jim and Gabe are the two guys. I'm driving along 90, and I see these guys windsurfing in the middle of the winter, and I go, what's going on? And again, I turn around, and I come back, and I park down at Edgewater, and I walk out to these two guys, and I introduce myself. You mind if I take pictures? No, not at all. The one guy was in a traffic accident 10 years ago, has 27 surgeries so far on his legs, and he goes out snow skiing in the wind with those kites to just clear his mind. We all go someplace mentally to clear our mind, right, in life? For me, it's photography, like I said. For him, it's wind skiing in the wintertime. And just by luck, it snowed like crazy while I was out there. And there's Jim and Gabe right there. And this is the guy who's had 27 surgeries on his legs in the last 11 years because of a bad accident he was in. New York City Central Park. My daughter Julia lived in New York for a time. And I would go to visit her, and she would be busy doing her stuff, and I didn't want to burden her, so I would go walking the city. I loved walking New York City. I'd go to Central Park, randomly go up to anybody in Central Park and ask them what they're doing. These three boys are playing baseball on a sandlot field with one bat, one glove, and one ball. They're three boys from three different boroughs in New York City. They go to three different high schools, but they gather a couple of times a week and they play baseball in New York City at Central Park. And I said, do you guys mind if I take a picture of you? Absolutely not. One bat, and it's a little tiny bat, like a 5-year-old would use. These are high school kids. One ball and one glove, and it's one of those little plastic gloves that you get at True Value Hardware for $14. But you know what? They were having the time of their lives. New York City, Central Park. This kid's like 23 years old. He's pushing a grocery cart around. He's got plastic bags, and he's picking up aluminum cans wherever he can find them. He does this twice a day, every day of his life. He's homeless. His parents were so high on crack, he said to me, I can't stand it anymore at home. I'd rather be homeless, living on a park bench, trying to make my own way. And every day, he tries to fill as many bags as he can with aluminum cans to get a couple of bucks so he can buy some food and sustain himself. And all it took was a hello. I want to spend a week on a freighter doing a photo essay. A friend of mine, Julie Wallace, who's a Midview grad, who happens to be the managing editor of the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, said, Ron, I can get you on a freighter. So the Mark Barker is going to be christened in Cleveland. It's a Wisconsin-built freighter, 690 feet long. It takes the salt from the Cargill salt mines and it disperses it across the country, across the Great Lakes. And it was brand new, and it was being christened. And this engine, 16-cylinder engine, 8,000 horsepower, it gets up to, I think it's 10 knots on an open water on a calm day. And I'm going to go back to this one. It's 10,000 gallons of gas in the tanks to fuel the freighter. How much is gas today? $3.14, something like that, right? Times 10,000. How much does it cost to fill this guy's freighter? A lot of money. This is the chef in the galley. Feeds 23 to 45 men on the boat, depending on how many are there. 3 times a day. Steak and potatoes on Saturday is a trademark, but his most requested food is spaghetti and meatballs. He's a chef. He loves to make homemade soups. Really spends time cutting up the vegetables. Guess what the crew likes best? Campbell's tomato soup. Hello. I am in Hope, Alaska with my son Riley. 2019, May. 24-hour daylight. Hope, now we took a tent and we went all over Alaska, but we're in Hope here. It's got 111 people that live in Hope. It's an empty town. And there's this little cafe called the Seaview Cafe, and there's a bar. There's always a bar, right? Everywhere you go, there's a bar. So Riley and I have some fish in the cafe. We go into the bar, and we're greeted by signs that say guns and knives be turned into the bartender. And it's not just a sign, that's the truth in Hope, Alaska. And there's a guy sitting in the bar. He's not in this shot because he would not allow me to take his picture. This is the bartender. This is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Happy hour is starting at 4 o'clock. This guy's been in the bar for a while now. He's there every day. I strike up a conversation with him. I said, can I take your picture? He goes, why? And I said, well, I like to do photo essays on Facebook. He goes, social media? And I said, yeah. He goes, absolutely not. He was a grumpy old man. And I appreciate grumpy old men. My wife will tell you that I am already a grumpy old man. I said, why won't you let me take your picture? He says, it's another example of America taking an opportunity and letting it turn into something that it shouldn't be. He said, the communication tool that we have through social media, obviously this guy's well-read. He's reading me the Riot Act right now. He says, we've taken it and we've thrown it away, just like we did television. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, when we invented television, and there were television in everybody's houses across our country, he said, we had an opportunity to educate everybody in our country through television. And you know what we did? And I said to him, no, what did we do? He goes, we gave them Lucille Ball. That's what he said. And he goes, I gotta go. He goes, happy hour starts, and this is a town of 111 people. Happy hour starts in an hour, and I don't like people, so I don't want to be here when they get to the bar. Relationships. I tell my children, I tell the girls that I coach, I tell kids that I mentor at the college, everything is about relationships. Develop relationships in your life. They are the fundamental foundation. They are the cornerstones, the building blocks to the rest of your life. Relationships. Be nice to people. Be genuine. Relationships will pay off in the end. Who's the guy on the left? Bob Feller, the greatest right-handed pitcher in the history of professional baseball. I'm biased. Bob Feller was my Grandpa Jantz's favorite player. And as a sports reporter, in once upon a time in my life, I became very good friends with Bob Feller. This is his house in Gates Mills. I would go talk to Bob. Bob would be in the press box at Old Progressive Field, Jacobs Field, Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Bob and I would sit and talk. And he became almost like a grandfather to me. Well, Bob Feller pitched the one and only opening day no-hitter in the history of baseball. And he called it a Norway gray day. So I used this picture right here because I went down to the lake one day, and that's not a picture that I changed to black and white. That's what the lake looked like that day. And when I walked up to it, I said, that's a Norway gray day. Bob Feller pitched an opening day no-hitter for the Indians in Chicago on a day that he called in April a Norway gray day. And every time I see a day like this, I think of Bob Feller. And there's Rapid Robert, the statue of him down at Progressive Field. And in it, he is holding the ball like you would hold it if you were throwing a curveball. Bob Feller was famous for what pitch? The fastball. He could throw the speedball by you, right? But they have him holding a curveball in the statue that they made for him. And I think the reason is because that curveball looked even nastier, right, when the fastball came through. Bob Feller once told me he served on the USS Alabama in World War II. In the prime of his baseball career, went to serve our country. And when Bob Feller left his service with the USS Alabama, he said to me, he goes, I acquired a high-powered scope from the USS Alabama. I don't know what acquired meant, but I think it meant stole. And I said, what did you do with the high-powered scope, Bob? He goes, we put it in the scoreboard in center field at Old Municipal Stadium. And he said, we used to steal the catcher's signs with it. And I said, Bob, I said, you cheated? And he goes, listen, Ron, all is fair in love, war, and a pennant race. True story. The Indians had a high-powered scope from the USS Alabama in the scoreboard of center field. Relationships. The guy on the right is here tonight, 100-year-old Judge Sirigliano. The guy on the left is who? Jack Nicklaus. The judge and Jack are friends. And it has turned into a friendship that's lasted the later parts of both of their lives. And Jack was back in Lorain County to be a part of the 25th anniversary of the Jack Nicklaus Scholarship Fund at Lorain County Community College. Well, Jack flew in on his private jet from Columbus. The judge and I picked him up at the Lorain County Airport. The judge and I are friends. He wanted me to document the day through pictures. So the judge and I jump in the judge's car. We drive out to Lorain County Airport, and Jack Nicklaus gets off the plane, the greatest golfer to ever play the game. 18 major titles. Nobody's been, Tiger Woods is near him, but he won't catch him. Jack jumps in the front seat. The judge is driving. I'm in the back seat with my camera. And they're such good friends. And this was 10 years ago, Judge? So you're 90 years old. It was 10 years ago. Jack looks at the judge and he goes, they still letting you drive, Joe? And I guarantee you, in Nicklaus's mind, he's thinking, I'm the greatest golfer that's ever walked the planet. I cannot die in a farm field in southern Lorain County with a 90-year-old behind the wheel. This is the judge right here. I'm picking on him. But he did. He goes, they still letting you drive, Joe? Remember? Yeah, I remember. So this is Jack. He shot a 69 that day, played his own ball at Elyria Country Club. People paid thousands of dollars to play with him. It's part of a fundraiser, scholarship fund. And usually you get, you get to hit a ball with Jack on the third tee, the par 3 or something like that. You paid to play 9 holes with him, and then another group paid to play another 9 holes with him. He played his own ball for 18 holes. He shot a 69 that day at Elyria Country Club. So he's under par. And we're driving back to the airport, and we get in the car, and I said, Jack, did you get nervous? I mean, this is a guy that's won 18 majors. He said, absolutely, I got nervous. He said, I don't play golf anymore. He says, now I'm teeing off in front of all of you guys at Lorain County Community College, and I'm Jack Nicklaus, and you're expecting me to hit it straight and right down the middle. Of course I got nervous. So then he picks up the phone, and he calls his wife, Barbara. And he's so excited that he shot 69. I can't hear Barbara, but I can hear Jack, and I can only imagine what Barbara's saying. This is a woman he's been married to his whole life. He says, hey, honey, he says, guess what I did today? And she obviously didn't care because he said, yes, I'll be home, we're leaving shortly. And then he goes, but guess what I did today? And she obviously didn't care because she must have said something like, you need to get milk before you come home. He said, I've got it, I'll get the milk. And he goes, I shot a 69 today. And she obviously didn't care, and she must have said, make sure you're home in time for dinner. And he said, okay, I'll be home. Right, Judge? True story. Relationships. Lucky is the next word. I believe in luck, but I also believe that you got to work really hard to be prepared to take advantage of luck once luck finds you in life. Whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in a job, whether that's in athletics, whether that's in music, whatever your passion is in life. I believe that luck plays a role in every success that we have, but I also believe if we're not prepared to take advantage of it when it finds us, then it's just a wasted opportunity. So recently in the sky, over the last several years, and most recently in the last year, we have had several lucky moments. This is a shot of a comet. Upper left, right here. You guys see it? Now, to get that shot, you've got to have your camera on a tripod, and you don't even know where that comet's at, but you know it's somewhere in the vicinity. And you put a long exposure on, which really, it lets a lot of light into the camera lens, and then you hope you got something. So I've got the Lorain Lighthouse and a comet in my shot. That right away places that in my county. You can have a shot of a comet in the sky, but if you have nothing for perspective in it, you don't know where it's at. This is in Lorain County, and a comet is in the sky. This is at the Flynn farm, and Adele Flynn is here with 2 of her 3 children. And this is, they're John Deere tractors. Anybody can see the comet? Yeah, right in the middle, right above the tractor. Again, placement for me is important as a photographer. Again, I could shoot the sky without the tractors in the shot. Some people may look at that and go, Ron, why do you have tractors in the shot? I have them there on purpose. It places it on their farm on that night in a comet that looks like it's ready to explode into the John Deere. And this is the Milky Way. Their grain silos out front on Jones Road in Penfield Township. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Her husband Eric's out on his little four-wheeler. He's looking for me. I text him the next day. He goes, I couldn't see you, Ron. What time did you leave? I go, I didn't get out of there until like 4. He goes, man, I couldn't find you. What happened this past summer? Total eclipse. Do you know how long it'll be before we in Lorain County, or specifically Avon Lake, are in the line of totality? Line of totality in Avon Lake, Ohio. It'll be another 439 years. That's how rare the occurrence was that we saw in this community this summer. These little flares I read are something that project out into the atmosphere for miles and miles and miles. But this is the way we see them.
Did you have to use a special filter?
So the question was from Heidi, did I have to use a special filter? On my camera lens, yes, I took 2 filter screens and taped them around my lens to get that shot. Otherwise, it would destroy my lens, the bright sunlight. Because this is the most dangerous moment, they'll tell you. It's called the wedding ring moment. It happens before and after. Mark Mueller's in the audience, and I know Mark's got great shots of this. It happens before and after the eclipse happens. And when it happens, it's the largest surge of light. Even when it's full, it's larger than that. It's this bright surge of light, and it's called the wedding ring because it looks like an upside-down wedding ring in this particular example. But if I had it at the beginning, it would be up there. Northern Lights. Who in the room thought we in Avon Lake or Lorain County, Grafton, Elyria, Lorain, wherever you're from, would see the Northern Lights in Ohio? Nobody. This was in May this summer, the first time they came through, or at least the first time I gathered them. Again, I put the power plant smokestacks in my shot so I know that these are the northern lights in what community? Avon Lake, my community. And that's the pier in Avon Lake, the fishing pier. And by the way, that Dave Rankin shot earlier, if Dave's in the shot, he'd be like right about down here. Northern lights with the moon in Avon Lake, Ohio in May. This is in October. Stacy and I are in Bowling Green, Ohio to see my niece perform on the dance team at a basketball game, or a volleyball game rather. We're driving home on Old Route 6, and if anybody knows Old Route 6, it is a country road, 2-lane, Route 6, nothing but darkness everywhere you see. Now, we didn't know we were going to see the Northern Lights that night. We got lucky. I had my camera, because I always have it. And Stacy and I pulled off into a farmer's field. If we were 18, 19 years old, you'd think we were pulling off to, make out a little bit. But we're not. We're 31 years into our marriage, and we're not that romantic anymore. So we pull off into the farmer's field to see the Northern Lights, and it was just me and my wife. And now, you put these cameras on a long exposure to really bring it out, but that night, it was that bright. That night, in the middle of nowhere, outside of Bowling Green on Route 6, with no competing light, it was that magical. This is Route 6 right here, and that's a semi-tractor trailer going down Route 6. And camera on a long exposure, you get that blurred line, which I thought was cool. Isolation. Who wants to be lonely? Nobody, right? There's a great line in a lyric in a Bruce Springsteen song where he says, if you fall in love with lonely, you'll end up that way. Now, I don't like to be lonely. I'm a father of 4 children. I can't wait to have grandchildren one day. But every now and then, I need to be by myself. I think we can all say that, right? Every now and then, we need me time or downtime. For me, the isolation comes when it's freezing cold out. Because who wants to be out with Ron when the temperature's 14 degrees? Not my wife, not my children, not my friends. Nobody wants to be with Ron when it's 14 degrees, normal temperature, and the wind is blowing, makes it feel like it's minus 10 through your teeth. My camera batteries, Mark, don't want to be out. This is in Avon Lake. I call them the ice monsters. That happened overnight one night. The waves splashing, hitting the pier, come up and create that. That is art. Joan Perch is in the back of the room. One of the most creative, talented people I know. That is art, right, Joan? That is nature, God's given art. And I went back at night. Now, to get this shot, Carol Miners is in the room. She's an Avon Laker. She knows walking out on that pier is not easy. At night, in the dark, with ice, it's impossible. It's why I'm going to have hip replacement surgery, probably in the next 5 years, right? Because I fall on the ice a lot. But that night, I got to get this shot. That is frozen water. Can you imagine how cold it must have been for the water to blow across that pier and freeze? Isolation. Vermilion, Mill Hollow. The shale cliffs there, different dirts, different stones, create different sediments and mixes, and when the water drifts down the shale cliff, it creates this like you take red and blue and green and you mix them all together, and what color do you come up with? Different colors, all in the same place. And they look like little ghosts to me. This is right across the street. What's happening in this picture? The water's starting to freeze. The water is starting to turn to slush, and the heat's coming off of it with the cold air hitting it. It's not like the water's warm, but it's warmer than the air. And it's starting to freeze. And the wind's blowing. You're on the lake, and nobody's with me because nobody wants to be with me. I'm isolated. This is in Lorraine, near I call it a little marsh. I think it's called an impound lot officially. But the water splashing over the stones. These are just stones along the break wall. And these are weeds and trees and bushes that have become a piece of art. Now, it's a real nice picture to look at, right? But somebody's got to go out there and shoot that picture. And again, nobody wants to go with me on that cold day. And it's cold and wet because you can see the water splashing. But to me, that's great. I get inside one of those frozen branches and trees and I shoot the sunlight coming through it. And then this is right in front of Avon Lake High School. Mike Mays in the audience, principal of our great high school. This was one of those magical nights where the snow was wet, it clung to the trees, and for some reason there was this strange hue happening in the sky. It was this orange hue, and I'm not sure why. I still don't know why. But that's what it looked like. And I said, I've got to stop and take that picture. And this is a road called Island Road out in Grafton. And again, I'm driving around in the morning, and it's cold, and I thought the way that the sky was, the linearness of everything that's happening here with the clouds, and I thought with that weed, it's just a weed, I thought it worked. In Lorraine at Lakeview Beach, isolation. This is not late at night, almost, it's probably 6 o'clock in the wintertime, sunset's at 6, but nobody's there. It's me by myself, and I love it. Waterfalls in Elyria, Cascade Park. I'm going to be a Lorain County for a second. These falls are so much better than Chagrin Falls. Chagrin Falls is, trendy, so they get all the press. Nobody wants to go to Elyria and Cascade Park. And this is coming from a guy, who loves Elyria and Cascade Park. I'm just being argumentative for a second. Cascade Falls are better than Chagrin Falls, and they don't get their due. And this is in the middle of the winter. You got to hike back to get to this spot. It's not easy, but it's beautiful. City of Cleveland, right? Edgewater Beach. To get that angle, because it is all about the angle, I have proven to you that I am willing to break laws to get angles. I crawled across those rocks on all fours, like I was in an Army physical test where I had, laser beams that were ready to burn my ears off if I got too high. I bear crawled, Army crawled across those rocks so I wouldn't fall into one of the crevices, because I wanted to get the angles. This is underneath the pier at Edgewater Beach, and the daggers are coming off, and I wanted to get that angle and frame the BP building up with, but you gotta work to get that, right? Do you think my wife would do that with me? Stacy's in the room. Stacy, would you do that with me? Yeah. Absolutely not. The willow tree again. The willow keeps its yellow color all throughout the winter. And on this white, blustery, snow-filled day, with the wind coming off Lake Erie and it's freezing cold, I needed to get that picture. And then this is Vermilion. The lighthouse in Vermilion, I just thought the color scheme worked. Frozen day, frozen lake, beautiful colors that told you that spring was on its way. Now, what time is it, Pastor Shelley?
It is 6:56.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How about an intermission?
Can you take an intermission and come back? Is that okay?
Rob Nordman, will you put the house lights on?
Yeah, we're going to put the house lights on. And when we come back, we'll finish
He's
this up.
coming to put the lights on. Okay.
So if you'd like to take a break or not, you can sit here. The baskets are out there if you'd like to do an in-kind donation, if you have to take a restroom break. And then the silent auction's out there, or you can do it afterwards. Or you can just stay right here, whatever works for you. I'll blow through these next ones.
Oh, you don't have
to. Okay, good.
You know that statue, the picture of the statue with Feller?
Yeah.
If you look at it, his arm is back, and the clouds are almost mimicking that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'll have to pay attention to
Look at
that. I didn't notice that, yeah. See, that's creative, right? I mean, you noticed that. I didn't. You got something out of that picture that I didn't. That's what I love about photography. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, guys. What's going on, Tom?
How are you?
Kristen, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Did you guys have a game tonight?
I got
You're going? You got a scoot now?
Gotta
Well, thanks for staying for part of it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't. I literally crawled. Yeah.
I knew exactly where that was.
Where that is. Because you got to go out on those rocks. It's not like you can shoot that. Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. You know, you guys know as photographers, it's always fun to have a challenge, right? Yeah.
We are very much alike. I ask for permission. I mean, I ask for forgiveness,
Not permission, yeah.
permission. So I tend to go little places where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Just to get it done.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Those are some really, really cool photos.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your
was awesome.
support coming out. Good luck tonight at work.
I'm traveling all week for work. So tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to upload all the Avon stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a link to it.
Okay, great.
So we can
Yeah.
get, oh no,
I want to, Avon, yeah, I want to get that thing.
So we can get the ball
Yeah.
rolling on that.
Because I think it'd be great. With your photos and our radio calls, I think it'd be a gift, a nice memory. Tom, great to see you.
Did you
Kristen?
do any games? Did you do any games?
I did Case Western basketball, wrestling today, and then Case tomorrow. I have a high school game on Tuesday night, pre-OL. Undetermined. If Columbia wins tonight, then I got the girls on Tuesday night at Columbia. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Have fun, man.
All right, good to see you guys. Yeah. Great to see you. How are you? Oh, that's all right. That was my fault. I should have been holding on to that. How's it going? Yeah, thanks for coming out. You guys look super cute in your glasses, man. Yeah, let's take a photo of you right now. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks for coming. That's awesome. Yeah, when everybody gets back in here, we'll get going again. I just wanted to give them an opportunity. Yeah. Yeah.
No, a half hour turned into 50 minutes pretty quick.
Oh, man. Mike, good to see you. You got to go, or are you going to stick around? Okay. Yeah, you got. Thank you for. No, thank you for coming for part of it. Sorry, I got a little long-winded there. I just start talking, and I just get so passionate about it. So, yeah. So this is our principal at Avon Lake High School, Mike May. Heidi and Mike. Heidi and I went to high school together. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah, we're not 60. Are you yet? I am. Are you? I turn in March. So, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Mike.
see you soon.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah.
Text you.
We'll have a coffee. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How you doing, Judge?
You're a talented guy. I didn't realize you were this talented.
Okay.
It's a marvelous.
It's one of my former softball players right there. Abby. Pitcher. Great pitcher. Abby, you went to high school with Heidi's daughter. You guys played on the same St. Joe Academy team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Frankie Milosevic is my daughter.
Yeah. Abby played summer softball for me here in Avon Lake. Yeah.
Ron, how often does the church have a speaker come in?
Not often. Yeah. Would you like to do something?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to come sometime.
Yeah. I'll hook you up.
About some cases.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. You guys gotta go?
No.
Oh, okay.
I still, every time I see the sunset, what do?
You get out and take a picture of it.
Besides that, turn around and look at the
Behind me. Yeah.
That every time I do that, I think
The glow
of you.
is always there.
And there was one beautiful sunset in Karma. I put it on Facebook. I couldn't get out of the Karma. And I'm like, Ron Jazz, I hope you're down at the lake taking a picture of this.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kath. Okay, if I could have everyone's attention, we're going to close those bids in 5 minutes. So if there's something that you bid on that you really want, you want to make sure you're competitive and you want to make sure. Costanzo and Whitford's. Hi, guys. It's so neat seeing all the folks here tonight. If you're bidding on something and you want to make sure you get it, the bids are closing in 5 minutes. So if you want to go check your bid, you can go ahead and do that. A last minute plea from Stacy on Facebook? Oh. So, next up is the word flawed. I think if we all think about ourselves, we all have flaws, right? I mean, I know my wife doesn't have any flaws, but she is, superhuman. But we all have flaws, and I think if we can recognize our own flaws and realize that they're probably unique to us and special, that, maybe we can feel a little bit better about some of the things that maybe we don't feel really good about. So these are pictures with flaws. This is an old house on Route 301 that's no longer there. It's been razed since I took this picture. But when I take pictures of old houses that are falling apart, one of my ideas in life is to write stories about what was that home about. Was that a happy home? Was it a broken home? What happened in that home? Who was raised in that home? What did they become? Who did they become? And wouldn't it be neat if you could, talk to the ghosts and tell the story of flawed homes? This is on Jones Road, not far from the Flynn Farm. It's my wife's favorite picture, maybe, that I've ever taken. My mom loved it, too. I was with my mom the day I took this. We were out on one of those, where are we going today, Ronnie? I don't know, Mom, wherever the wind takes us days. And this is just an old red truck on a worn-down barn with white snow. And the red and the white worked for me. So this is inside a barn, and the wooden planks that are making up the wall of the barn aren't doing their purpose. There are gaps in them. They are flawed. The wind comes in, the snow comes in, the rain comes in, and the sunlight comes in. And that's what makes this flawed barn wall beautiful in my mind. Railroad tracks. I am in love with railroad tracks. I grew up next to the Baltimore and Ohio in Grafton on Crook Street. These are not those tracks. These are the tracks on Route 83 as you're heading from Avon Lake to Grafton, which is a trip that I have made 1,000 times if I've made it once. And this was an early morning. Fog of the morning made things hard to see, so it wasn't a bright, crisp, clear morning. It was dingy and dark and foggy and cloudy and beautiful all at the same time. This is a cliff here in Avon Lake, again in a spot that you're not supposed to be. You've got to hop a couple of fences with lots of signs that tell you not to do it. And I've actually gotten chased out of there by the great police officers of Avon Lake before in the past. But there's this little cove that's hidden down there, and it's got these shale cliffs. And this is the side of a shale cliff. So these are sharp edges that could cut you. They're not kind. They aren't friendly. They aren't inviting. But on this particular day, they were beautiful as the sun was setting in the blue water of Lake Erie. Remember the fire clouds or the fire storms with all the smoke that came all the way from California or wherever? This is like in the middle of the afternoon during that time, not long ago. So it's a flawed day, but still beautiful. See the beech tree? It's a beech tree, right? White bark? Sycamore. Birch, not beech. Yeah. It sticks out with the rusted colors of the leaves and the fog that is rising off the Black River in Sheffield Lake. That tree is flawed. It has been hit by a lightning bolt or a diseased, I'm not sure why. It looks like it does. But it is also beautiful. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly round. It's old. It's injured, but it's still beautiful. I almost lost my life getting this picture of this truck. Coach Marty Eggleston's in the house. Hi, Marty. This is on Route 58 between Sullivan, Ohio, and whatever the next township is as you're heading north towards the lake. And it's on one of those parts of the road where you're up high and then there's a dip in the road. And if you're coming up off the high ground, you don't see anything in the dip until you see it. Well, I saw this truck and I said, I got to get a picture of that truck. The sun's hitting it. It's a red truck on a red barn. And I put my car in reverse. And I back up. I stay in my car. I'm shooting through the window, rolled the window down. And I'm keeping an eye on the rearview mirror as I'm doing this because I'm in the middle of Route 58. And I'm dumb and I'm in that low spot. But it's all about the shot, right? And that's a flawed truck with a flawed barn. It's got a dent in the truck. But how many guys in the room and women in the room would love to have that truck? I'd love to have that truck. This is a church in South Amherst. Again, I was on a trip to break the law. I was going to the South Amherst quarries. Trespassing signs all over the place. Arrests by the South Amherst Police Department. Happens on a regular basis. Not supposed to go back by the quarries. So what do? I try to pick the opportunity. Early Sunday morning at sunrise, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning in the summer. And I park at a church. Because who is going to park at a church if you're going to go out and commit a sin, right? Who would do that? Nobody would do that. I would do that. Because it's about strategy. So I'm walking by this church and it's an old slate roof and it's falling apart. And the metal underneath the slate, with the way the sun was hitting it, looks like what? Looks like the American flag. It's not a reflection. It's some sort of magical mix of the chemicals from the slate and the metal and the way the sun was hitting it. It looks like an American flag. So on my way to break the law, I stopped and took that picture. Downtown Cleveland, late at night, nobody around, ugly night, fog, can't see some of the buildings, but you can see that. Icy night, foggy night, near Lake Erie, the lights of the power plant in the background shining through the frozen branches. And then here at Avon Lakes Christ Lutheran Church, the cross that's right above us on the rooftop here. I mean, since we're in a church, you know, Jesus has taken all of our flaws, right? He's accepted our flaws. He loves everyone. God put his son on this earth and took his son from this earth to take our sins away. And I just thought that was a great example of flawed. Did you take that from the ground? I did. Tim Gottschall just asked, did I take that from the ground? Tim is the operations director, the grounds supervisor here. He's a church member, but he volunteers. He makes sure everything's working correctly. So Tim was probably thinking, Ron, did you break the law and jump up on the roof? And is that the reason the roof's leaking, Ron? Is it your fault? I'm kidding with Tim, but yeah, from the ground, from the parking lot, Tim. And again, to get the angle with the moon behind it. Commitment. Commitment, right? We all have to have it in life. Commit to something, believe in something, and then commit to it and see it through. And meet all the challenges and the temptations that have come along the way, and just find a way to work through them. Stay committed. My friend Jim Gunlock's back here. We're both, well, I'm about 60, he's a little bit older. We are committed to staying physically fit, right, Jim? Even though some days our bones tell us we don't want to do it. Commitment. I love this guy. A lot of the country wants to hate on LeBron. I think he's a great example because I've been around athletes my entire life. I've been around professional athletes that do not deserve your respect and they do not deserve your adulation. And I never understood the worshiping of athletes because I covered them. But this guy has met all challenges and temptations. He has been a superstar since he was 15 years old, and everybody wants a piece of him. Everybody wants to give something to him. Everybody's tempting him. And he has stayed committed to his wife, Savannah. This is little Bronny. This picture was taken when that's Bronny James, who now plays on the Lakers with his dad. This is Bryce, their second son, and she is pregnant with their daughter in this picture. This was in Akron when LeBron was coming back to play for the Cavaliers the second time to say, I'm here committed to bring a championship to this city. I took this picture. I covered LeBron for NBA Entertainment. And this is the life that he lives every day. Every day. Everybody wants to hear from him. Everybody wants to hear his opinion. Then they want to crucify him for his opinion. They want to give me an answer about that, LeBron, and then they say, wow, what a bad answer that was. Every day, that guy faces firing squads like that. He has put took this picture and put it in this because he has had the weight of our city on his back and his shoulders when he came back. Everybody hated him when he left. When he came back, everybody loved him, you know. It's that fickle love. And he carried the weight of our city on his shoulders, and he flexed. This is a quiet moment at a press conference. I liked this picture that I took because he looks reflective in it, and there's darkness around him. And, you know, sometimes in his life, there is darkness around him. And then this is an action shot that I took on the floor at the arena, and it shows the strength, I think. I think it shows the strength in the man. I mean, it's a guy grabbing a rebound, but to me, as a photographer and somebody who sees something different in every picture, it's strength to me. It's commitment. And that commitment led to the big three. And this was taken in 2016, and what happened in 2016? Cavaliers won the NBA championship. I took this picture at Media Day. It's Kyrie in the middle, Kevin Love. Every woman in the room knows it's Kevin Love on the left, right? My wife will leave me for Kevin Love. My daughter Caroline is in the room tonight, and she loves Kevin Love. And when Caroline was going off to Ohio State, her birthday's in September, Media Day shortly after the beginning of September, I said to Kevin Love after I got done interviewing him, this is how good of a guy Kevin Love is. I said, hey, Kevin, I said, my 19-year-old daughter loves you. She's starting school at Ohio State. It was her birthday 2 days ago. Would you wish her happy birthday? Absolutely, Ron. So I get my phone out. He takes it and he goes, hey, Caroline, it's Kevin Love. Just wishing you happy birthday. Make sure you have a fun day. Study hard in school. And always, always remember, do what your dad tells you to say. Or do what your dad tells you to do. Right, Caroline? Yeah. Huh? You have the same birthday as Kevin Love? Oh. I don't know what he's doing with that supermodel, Caroline. He should be with you. All right, that was commitment. Wonder. We all wonder, right? Wonder what if. Wonder how things will be in my life, where my children are going to be. How long will I be here? What will I do tomorrow? Wonder is something that we all need and we all have. I wondered what it would be like to get attacked by a grizzly bear. This is Alaska. When my son Riley and I were in Alaska. And they teach you what to do if you are attacked by a grizzly bear. And the beauty of the way they instructed you, every ranger told you the same way to react. It wasn't Tim's opinion or Mike's opinion or Heidi's opinion. It was a unified opinion on how to react if a grizzly bear attacks you. Now, I took this picture of a grizzly bear with a 600 zoom lens. It's highly cropped. Somebody asked me if I have full frame or crop. This one is as cropped as it can be. I am a long way away from this grizzly bear, and I'm on a bus. All right, so don't think that Ron is like, you know, Indiana Jones or something. He's on a bus on his way to a campsite. They're going to drop me and Riley off 6 hours away from civilization with just a couple other people, but they need us to know how to fight off a grizzly bear. And I include that because, so that's Denali Mountain in the background. 20,340 feet roughly, the largest elevation in North America, sea level. Riley and I went out to Wonder Lake, and again, it's 6 hours out. They take you out on a bus. They won't allow people to go out there in their cars. They drop you off. There are like 16 campsites. They're all separated. We're in a 2-man tent for 3 nights and 4 days out there at Wonder Lake. And Ansel Adams in 1947 took his son to, it was at the time Mount McKinley, to take a picture to show the country how beautiful the wilderness of Alaska was. And I had researched where Ansel Adams took this picture. Denali has its own weather system. Only 30% of the time do you get to see the top, and you can't see it in this picture. Because of the moisture, because of the glaciers that are up there, and because it's so high up, it just creates its own weather system. Well, Ansel Adams got a great mirrored picture off of a place called Wonder Lake with Denali, and I wanted to do it. So I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 24-hour daylight while we're there. Riley, you want to go with me? No, Dad, I'm going to sleep. So I hike through this. I show this picture because I hiked, like, it was a long hike. Our campground's over here on the other side of this. This is a glacier lake that's got fog in it in the morning. I hiked through all this stuff. Now, they tell you one of the things to do with grizzly bears, they don't want to see you any more than you want to see them. So make noise, sing songs, clap, do something as you're walking. So I like to sing by myself. I'm very good by myself. And I'm walking through this grassy, marshy area trying to make sure a grizzly bear doesn't surprise me. And I like Billy Joel. And I sing Only the Good Die Young. And I got about 2 or 3 lines into it, and I stopped myself and I said, should I be singing Only the Good Die Young? So I sang a Bruce Springsteen song. So I hiked through that area, and I get all the way out to the spot where I knew Ansel Adams took the picture. And this is Wonder Lake. And it was a flat day, so I had the mirror water opportunity, but the mountain was shrouded in the weather system. And I didn't get the Ansel Adams photo that I wanted that day. And I hiked way out to get it, risked myself against a grizzly bear. And you know what happened? When I got to this spot, right behind this spot is a service road. I could have taken the service road all the way out there. I could have walked on the road. And this is Riley. He stayed back in our tent. That's our view, and that's the top of Denali Mountain, right up there. You can see it. It's shrouded here, but the top is not. Riley stayed home, slept, got a good rest, and had that view. So who's the smarter one in the family? Insomnia. I cannot sleep. I go to bed, I fall asleep, but then I'm up at 2 o'clock. I'm up at 2:30. I can't go back to sleep. It's a problem. My mind will not shut off. Anybody in the room like that? A couple of people, right? So I get up and I get in my car and I go driving. And I take pictures at night, a lot of times in downtown Cleveland. This is in the middle of the night. Now my friends go, Ron, you're in the city in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, what are you doing? You're going to get shot. You're going to get, something bad's going to happen. I go, listen, dude, nobody's up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Only me. There's nobody around. A lot of times it's really cold. Nobody wants to be out at 3 in the morning on a really cold night. Downtown Cleveland. This just a couple of weeks ago. Freezing cold night. It was really cold. I think I have permanently injured my hands, specifically the fingertips of my hands, because if you're a photographer, you can't have the glove on to get the feel that you want. And I'm out in the cold a lot. That's the Cuyahoga River, frozen. This is in the flats underneath a bridge. I don't know, many of you maybe have seen this. There's a sign here that says lake this way, and then there's a sign here that you can't see because it's behind the steel girders, and it says city with an arrow that way. But it's in the middle of the night, I'm in the middle of the road, in the flats, and nobody's around. And I just liked all the light reflections. This is in the same location that I shot the bridge shot with the city in the background. I just turned around. Catherine Clarkson here, we talk about sunset a lot. We talk about turning around. You see sunset, you see the beauty, but if you turn around, you look behind you, there's often sometimes something equally as beautiful. Well, there was that night. Playhouse Square. Let me see if this is, okay, so this is a busy night on Playhouse Square. Long exposure, you can see the car flares moving through. Now, as a photographer and a guy who likes to break the rules in his pictures, I always thought Playhouse Square is a beautiful picture, but what if you could be on the road, laying on your back, shooting flat up at the chandelier? That would be a great angle. You're not going to get that on a busy night. It's busy all the time at Playhouse Square. But on one particular day, I took my daughter, Julia, to the train station in Cleveland by the old football stadium, the new football stadium, the old municipal stadium. It's 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, she's going to New York City. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. She's got a train that she's getting at that time of the night. I'm wide awake because I can't sleep. So I said, I'm going to get that chandelier shot. So here's a shot of the empty street at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think it was like a Tuesday. And then there's my shot. I literally laid flat on my back underneath that chandelier and shot straight up at it like I'm looking at the ceiling right now. And you know what? There was a homeless guy down the sidewalk, and he starts yelling, "Yo, buddy, you got any spare change?" I quickly moved to my car, but I got the shot. Patience. How many have patience? Be honest. How many wish you had more patience? All right, everybody wishes they had more patience. In life, you got to be patient. As a photographer, you really got to be patient. Here's maybe my greatest example of patience. Snowy owl in Lorraine at the impound lot a couple of years ago. See the gold in the eye? It's beautiful. Snowy owls are beautiful. The only time I'd ever seen a snowy owl is in the Harry Potter stories in the movies that my kids watched growing up. I heard there was one in Lorraine. This is the impound lot. It's a cold, cold day. There is snow. I thought anybody can get a picture of a snowy owl, but can you get a picture of a snowy owl when it's snowing? I was in a snowdrift for 4 hours, waiting for the snowy owl to move. If you know anything about a snowy owl, they don't move much. And they don't announce themselves when they're ready to move. There's not a tell. Like if you're playing cards with Pastor Schlesman and you're playing 5-card stud and poker, he's got a tell. He touches his earlobe when he's ready to bluff. The snowy owl does not have a tell. So you sit and you wait, you have patience. For 4 hours, I sat in a snowdrift, surrounded by snow on my right, surrounded by snow on my left, surrounded by snow on my back. And I can tell you what, snow is insulating. It does keep you warm. If you're ever caught in a snowstorm, just pile yourself into a snowdrift. It'll keep you warm. I sat for 4 hours waiting for that snowy owl to move. And when it did, it flew the other way. I wanted it to fly to me. Big wingspan, golden eyes, looking right into my lens. It flew the other way. I waited for 4 hours, and that's what I got. Catherine said it's a good shot. I don't think it's a good shot. Again, back to Stacy calling me a snob about things. I don't think that's a good shot. But it drives home the point. But later, the snowy owl was back, and I went out to see it. And again, with the comets and the northern lights, you know, if you just shoot the comet or the northern lights and you don't have perspective in the shot, you don't know where it's at. It could be anywhere. Well, what speaks to Lorraine more than anything? The lighthouse. Snowy owl's flying around. I'm out there kind of stalking it. It lands on this old, dead tree stump. And the lighthouse is behind it. But where my angle was, it wasn't. So I had to move quietly, hoping that it wouldn't move, and I got the angle to take that shot. I love that picture. Sacrifice. We all make sacrifices in our lives. As parents, we make sacrifices. As spouses, we make sacrifices. As employees, we make sacrifices. As followers of our faith, we make sacrifices. I currently am sacrificing barbecue potato chips for my life. Some of you snickered. That is a huge sacrifice. If I have a vice in life, Jim Piger, it is barbecue potato chips. The picture isn't of barbecue potato chips. It's of the ultimate sacrifice that many people in our country have made. This is in Rittman. How many people have been to the military service cemetery in Rittman? A lot of folks. I had never been there until last year. And I went out on this particular day. It's called Wreaths Across America. I'd read about this. It was started in Maine about 40 years ago. A tree farmer, a pine tree farmer, would take the remnants that he had from pine trees that were sold for Christmas or wreaths, and he would make wreaths, and they would put them on military cemeteries in Maine. And it turned into a national thing. He got the idea by the tomb from the unknown soldier in Washington, D.C., and he said, I'm going to do this locally, and it turned into a national thing. So this is done every year across our country, Wreaths Across America. This is in Rittman, Ohio, not far from here. And I was out there on this particular day, and I said, that's a beautiful shot. You know what would be even more beautiful? If there was snow in the shot. I like this shot because the stormy sky, right? Military is a stormy thing. You are signing up for a sacrifice. Maybe you make it home, maybe you don't. You don't know. But you're willing to do that for your country, your honor, and your commitment to who we are. And it snowed a couple of days later. And I drove back out to Rittman. My boss is not in the room tonight, so I can say this. I called in sick that day. Jim Gunlock's in the room. He works with me. He could tell Allison. I called in sick that day. Not feeling well this morning, Allison. I'll probably be in about noon, work a half day. I went out to Rittman. You guys are learning a little bit about me tonight.
I don't think you have to worry about the good daddy on the song.
Every day, they start the flag at full staff. It's at half staff in the shot. You can't see the rest of the pole because of the way that 16:9 ratio for this image. But every day, and I want to get this stat right, and I wrote it down. They start the flag at full staff, and then they have funerals there every day, and they drop it down a half hour before the first funeral. They drop that flag down to half staff, and it stays there. There are 3,000 burials each year at the Ohio Western Reserve National Cemetery in Rittman, or Seville, and they average 10 burials a day. That's commitment. This is my final slide section of the night. Reflection. And I thank you guys for sticking with me for what was longer than what was expected. We all reflect at some points in our life. If we self-analyze, if we think about our day as we're lying in bed at night, or what we did today, what we did last week, what we have to do, there's reflection. Did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Can I be a better person? Can I be a better friend? Can I be a better husband? Can I be a better father? Can I be something? We reflect on our lives, hopefully, in what we do on a daily basis. So these pictures are all about reflection. And this is here in Avon Lake, Coffee Reservation. There's a little creek. I don't know the name of it. It runs through the reservation. What is it?
Gable Creek.
Gable Creek. And this is late afternoon, and that's a water with a little ripple. I believe in ripples. We walk through life with ripples, right? Everything we do has some sort of reaction. There's a ripple effect to everything we do in life. So when I see a ripple in the water and I see how it grows and it expands out and it changes and it's beautiful and everything all at the same time, I think of life. Because, think about it. Everything we do has a ripple effect. It's either good or it's bad, and it's our decision to decide what we want to do. This is at Cascade Park in Elyria, where the greatest waterfall in northeastern Ohio is. And this is the Black River that winds through Cascade Park, and this is a late afternoon after work at Lorain County Community College. I go over to the park in the fall, and that greets you as you go down the hill. That is a magnificent shot, a moment that I love. And this is my final picture of the presentation tonight. I started with my father because when he was dying, and I would take him on road trips to places that were parts of his life so we could remember when, he was the genesis for my photography. And I end with this shot because it is a reflection of the sky where my father lives with my mother in heaven. But what is it reflecting on? Any guesses what the reflection? Pond, puddle. Catherine Clark, the photographer friend of mine, said it right. She said the hood of the car. It's the roof of my dad's truck. My dad's truck is beige. It's got 220,000 miles on it. My wife wants me to get rid of it daily. She's in the room, and I'll tell you all, I'm never getting rid of that truck. And on that particular day, I climbed up on top of I opened my door, I got on the seat of my car, and on the reflection of my dad's roof, who was the inspiration for my photography, I took this picture. Thank you. It's